Epic Games made Fortnite famous by introducing so much new content all the time that would take other game companies months to produce. I mean, think about it. Call of Duty would do 4 big updates per year, when Fortnite was dropping updates literally every 2 weeks. It was insane. The problem is, Fortnite is early access for a reason, which lets things like this happen.
Oh my god!
To be right now,
It's another elimination. He's on a killing spree. Oh my word!
Here are 15 updates that broke Fortnite. And I hope I'm still annoying the 75% of you watching right now who aren't subscribed. Feel free to click it to help us reach our goal of 4 million subscribers by the end of summer. But anyways, on to number 15. One thing all battle royales have in common is the pesky little zone that's constantly closing in as we're playing. Whether it be the storm like in Fortnite or ring of gas like in Warzone, you kinda need this thing to help ensure the game ends and people don't hide in corners all game. That's why it was such a huge problem when players found a glitch in Fortnite which allowed them to sit in the storm for literally the entire game and then they would just win. I'm not talking about campfires and medkits either. A spot in the waters at Slurpy Swamp would legitimately heal you forever until eventually everyone just dies.
Imagine Fortnite holding one of their tournaments, FNCS. First week, some squad does this every game and gets full wins. Like, there's no more zones. It's so stupid.
Number 14. Explosives have always been a rather controversial topic in Fortnite. The team at Epic Games is constantly adjusting the balance of grenades and RPGs, and sometimes even experimenting with explosive weapons, which is always a great idea. Guided missile launcher. During Fortnite's 6th season, however, Epic made a pretty drastic change which completely destroyed the entire game. Explosives could now damage players through their builds, which was insanely broken. One of the only counters to explosives were gone, making RPGs the most powerful weapon in the entire game by far. After giving players about a day to try it out and get used to the new changes, Epic immediately reversed their decision, stating they're always looking for different ways to incentivize aggressive play, aka stop turtling, you little turtles. Coming in at number 13, speaking of ways to incentivize W King, the launch of Season 6 brought us a brand new consumable item named Shadow Stones. Yeah, remember them? Looking like miniature Kevin the Cubes, this item allowed players to transform into a shadow form, which gave them invisibility when not moving, immunity to fall damage, and a lot of other buffs. I'm sure you could already guess where this one's going, but just 2 weeks after their introduction to the game, Epic was forced to temporarily disable them while they fixed a game-breaking glitch that allows players to become permanently invisible. Yeah, for the little amount of time that it was doable in game, it was a massive issue. While you could still do damage to enemies who are abusing the glitch, it was nearly impossible because all you could see was a floating weapon. Talk about overpowered. Number 12. Epic Games and the Fortnite community have had a bit of a troubled relationship when it comes to vehicles. They originally stated that they had no plans to introduce them to the game, but the Battle Royale mode has seen many different vehicle types over the years, some good and some very bad. It all started with the innocent shopping carts, but man, things went downhill fast. After the disaster that was the X4 Stormwing in Season 7, Epic decided to one-up themselves and add a fully kitted mech suit to the game in Season X, officially named the Brew. This thing was absolutely brutal. Okay, cringe. But whoever was lucky enough to get one of these things first was pretty much guaranteed to win the game or at least get loads of eliminations. If it weren't for the fact that the Brute was purposely added to the game, I'd say that this was one of the most game-breaking updates of them all, not to mention that they weren't even vaulted until the end of the season, making Season X probably one of the more painful seasons in all of Chapter 1. Number 11. First introduced in Season 7, ziplines were scattered throughout the map as a way for players to get around easier without needing to waste materials to build up huge mountains. Since then, they remain in the game as a staple mechanic that many of us have grown to love, including me. Unsurprisingly, however, ziplines have seen their fair share of glitches over the last year or so, this one being especially terrible. With just a few calculated button presses, you can completely glitch the zipline into thinking that you're riding it when you're actually not. I know, doesn't sound all that bad until you realize that literally anything in your way will get obliterated the second you touch it. Number 10. When the late Kevin the Cube left his runes all over the map, players knew what they were getting themselves into by going into those areas. The anti-gravity aspect of the runes was a pretty simple mechanic to work around, but it became a massive problem when the final circle closed in on a glitched rune that launched every player in the area into the sky with no chance of coming down. And as if that wasn't bad enough, this glitch took place during the week 8 of the Fortnite Summer Skirmish. As annoying as it was absolutely golden to watch the reactions of all the pro players who literally had to compete in it.
Wait, what is happening? The rune now flies you around? Even they don't know what to do. Look at this! What is going on?
Moving on to number 9, back in Season 3, Epic set the pace for the future of Fortnite with the addition of turbo building, an effective little setting for console and PC players that would make building a breeze. With this setting, you didn't need to give yourself freaking arthritis by rapidly clicking each build for a simple 1x1. With turbo building on, you could just hold the building and start cranking. This update opened up limitless possibilities for the game, and I'd even go as far as saying it's responsible for the really sweaty building meta that we've seen ever since. With a change as big as this, it's no surprise that Epic got some seriously heavy backlash when they decided to nerf the setting. While 0.05 seconds to 0.15 seconds might not sound like much of a difference, that increase in delay between placing builds completely ruined the setting for a lot of players. Walling yourself from explosives or even retaking high ground was so much harder after this change, and players despised it. You ever seen a really pissed off pro player? Well, anyways, luckily for us, Epic reverted the change after gathering feedback from the community. Gathering feedback, yeah, that's what happened. Even if they had some good reasons for making the change, it honestly just didn't really feel that good, and at the end of the day, that's kind of what matters, right? Number 8. We've already seen just how devastating vehicles like the Brute mech can be in the game, and we'll get to the X4 Stormwing in a minute, but let's take a look at the driftboard and shopping carts. Sure, neither of these vehicles were anywhere near as bad as the mech, but if you were unlucky enough, there was actually a glitch that could cause you to launch completely across the map, almost certainly to your death. If you think that's bad, there was also a few circumstances that would actually cause the glitched cart or board to wipe out literally every player on the map. I mean, come on, who needs mats and weapons when you've got a shopping cart apocalypse gun? Number 7. As I was just saying earlier, the X4 Stormwing plane was definitely one of the worst possible additions in the entirety of Fortnite's history. I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic, like maybe the mech was a little bit worse. But not only did the plane allow an entire squad to escape pretty much every situation, it was also one of the best anti-build items in the game. And by that I mean, well, all you had to do was use the plane's boost to completely destroy anything or anyone that got in your way. As cool as the Ice King event was, competitive play in Season 7 was pretty miserable because of this thing. It even took Epic until Season 8 to realize the mistake they'd made and went on to vault it. Just thank you everybody who decided not to choose it in the invaulting event. Number 6. Every once in a while, Epic decides to have a little fun and add items to the game that may not have a chance at being that useful, but are absolutely fun to use. After the success of the Porta-Fort, Epic turned things up a notch and added the Porta-Fortress, a throwable item which literally spawned a giant metal base. The problem is, because of all the materials being placed in such a short period of time, this thing had a pretty massive hit on the game's performance and usually caused a ton of lag for players. Sometimes, weird shark-like materials would even glitch around while it was being built. Ooh, was Epic teasing the shark all the way back in Season 6? Okay, enough Fortnite conspiracy theories. Number 5. Each week, Epic releases a set of challenges for players to complete and earn rewards. Usually, these challenges are designed to make players go out of their way to complete them. However, when a challenge involving shopping carts, ATKs, and some flaming hoops were added, a few problems arose. A glitch was discovered with the vehicles which caused them to be temporarily removed from the game. This would usually be fine if it weren't for the fact that these vehicles were a requirement to complete the challenge, completely breaking that week's challenges until they were eventually unvaulted. Honestly, if I was one of those like completionists or whatever, it would have been a huge pet peeve. Imagine not being able to complete a challenge no matter what you do. On to number 4. Alright, sure the mech and plane were insanely broken, but there might have been just one other item that was worse than both of them combined. The old Infinity Blade. Players who were lucky enough to get to this sword first were pretty much guaranteed to win the game because, well, do I even really need to explain myself here? Not only did it deal massive amounts of damage to both players and their builds, it gave the holder extra health and movement speed. Top it all off, Epic added this the night before a major tournament for $1 million, which, as you can imagine, completely ruined the entire event. For the players, because you already know I was kicking back eating popcorn watching all the chaos unfold. Number 3. You might not realize it, but creating video games, especially those as big as Fortnite, isn't a easy task. But with that being said, some problems are a bit hard to understand. With the launch of Season 6, the vast majority of players on Xbox One would experience constant crashing whenever they tried to play the game. This issue went on for an embarrassingly long time, which had all the Xbox players going absolutely nuts. Now, I'm not saying PlayStation or PC are better than Xbox, but make sure you defend your platform below in the comments. Most comments wins the war. Number 2. There are literally hundreds of skins in Fortnite, and surprisingly, we don't see too many issues with specific skins despite how many there are. That said, it's not like it hasn't ever happened. During Season 6, nearly 2 seasons after the skin was introduced, the Zoe skin was temporarily disabled while Epic fixed a glitch that broke the skin. The glitch caused Zoe to become invisible, kinda similar to the whole Shadowstones glitch that we mentioned before. Honestly, I don't know how this even happened, especially considering it wasn't even a newly added skin, but high five to Epic for fixing it before so many invisible Timmies hopped on the bandwagon. Finally, we're at number 1, and without the building mechanics that we have now, Fortnite would be a completely different game. Not just because of the offensive abilities that building offers, but the defensive ones as well. By this, I mean that there's really not a lot of cover around the map when you start to pay attention. So when a glitch in Season X allowed players to shoot straight through ramps and walls, it was a huge problem. You ever feel like you've gotten sniped even though you were already behind a wall? Yeah, it was probably something like this. Anytime a player phased through a building, even if it was just their weapon, they could be shotgunned or sniped for pretty much a free elimination, which, as you can imagine, super broken. As we've come to expect, Epic was pretty quick to fix this one as well, so they definitely deserve some credit. Thanks, Epic, we appreciate ya. But hey, click on screen right now for a free cookie. This has been Tommy, keep her here, Top 5 Gaming.